Welcome to the Inspiring Heights podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Kaiser, and I am so excited to be here with you today. Inspiring Heights exists to walk alongside you as we learn to create healthy rhythms, flourish in our faith, and be inspired where our feet are. We're honored that you're with us today. We can't wait. Let's get started. So the Monday after Easter, we dropped the first episode in a 3-part series on spring cleaning. And we got to have a conversation with our friend Megan, who is the owner and founder of the Untangled Home. And Megan is a gem. You guys, if you have not had the opportunity to listen to episode 7, I would highly encourage you to go back and take a listen. Megan has a mental health background, and so she talked to us with a lot of wisdom on how clutter affects our brains, and then gave us some really tactical and practical tips and tricks for how we can approach decluttering our home as we consider stepping into the season of spring cleaning. This week's episode is all about how small steps equal big impact on our spring cleaning efforts. Spring cleaning is really no different than a lot of other big projects or overhauls that we set our mind to. It's like this: when we decide that our closet needs to be cleaned out, we tend to attach the due date of yesterday, right? I go to my closet this morning, I'm overwhelmed because there's shirts everywhere and I can't find the right shoes and those pants don't match. And I'm frustrated and I'm like, I need to clean out my closet. And this sense of urgency tells me that should have been accomplished yesterday. It's like deciding that you want to learn how to crochet. And so you go to the craft store and you buy yarn in every different color, in every different type, so that you have all of it. And you get home and you start working with the one crochet needle that you have because that's all that you have. And you didn't take the time to learn and research and understand that certain sizes of yarn match certain sizes of crochet needles. And so you're left with this mess. You've started, you've invested, you've spent money and time, and now you're discouraged and it's an immediate loss. And we're going to talk about how that affects us psychologically and actually demotivates us from moving forward. So we start with our desired outcome. Like, what's our end game? And this might seem obvious to you. Like, Vanessa, I spring clean my house so that my house is clean. And to that, I would say, go a little bit deeper, friend. In the words of a classic 5-year-old, why do you want your house to be clean? What is your motivation for giving up your Saturday or your entire weekend or maybe a whole week to clean out your kitchen cupboards? Because here's what I can promise you. If you don't know why you're doing it, besides that you want a clean house, and you don't know what your end game is, you might make it through the pots and pans in a silverware drawer, but I promise you, when you hit the Tupperware cupboard, you are going to lose your motivation and you'll be all done. And that will be the end of spring cleaning in the kitchen. So I want to tell you a little bit about our motivation. And I just always like to preface these stories by saying everyone's motivation is different. So what motivates me is going to be different than what motivates you. But I also think it's helpful to walk this out, explain it a little more in real life. So for me, spring cleaning is all about resetting our home. We love to have friends in our space. And I especially love when our house is in a place where 15 minutes of upkeep a day makes me feel super comfortable about the possibility that someone could knock on our door at any given time unexpectedly. And I would be like, yes, come in, have coffee. And I'm not going to be mortified that our house is a disaster. Please hear me when I say this is a whole nother episode that we'll do about opening your home and your table and all those things to your friends and your family and your neighbors. But here's the deal. If I'm super honest with myself and with you, I would say I am much more willing to live an open door kind of life where I genuinely and consistently extend the invitation for people to come into my home at any time. If I feel like our home is in a place where when people step in the front door, they're going to feel safe, they're going to feel welcome, and they're going to feel comfortable. So for me, that's my motivation for resetting our home. In addition to that, I like to consider the season. You guys know that I'm really big on seasons. And so I consider the season, and summer tends to be a busier time for us. And this is the case in a lot of people's life, right? We're gone more, we're vacationing more, we have family and friends coming in from out of town more. We spend longer days outside because it's light longer, and so we're outside on the porch, we're outside at a campfire, we're working in the garage, we're working in the garden, whatever that it may be, but we're outside more often. And so I know that if we can reset our home prior to the summer season, it makes maintaining our home in a way that is important to me easier to do in the midst of that busy season. So again, I would encourage you to pause and reflect and decide, what is my desired outcome? That's the first step of spring cleaning. What is my desired outcome? And here's the thing. Sometimes we have to break this down by room. I had this revelation the other day. I will tell you. We live in a house where our basement is unfinished and the podcast studio is set up in the basement. And as you are well aware, we have had several guests on the show in the last few weeks. And so they've either been sitting in our unfinished basement with me, or they've been on the computer screen and they can see the unfinished basement behind me. And most of the time, I'm not like too up in arms and weird about that. But I came home the other day and I told my husband, like, I really want to do a reset in the office upstairs. We use it like for his office and we use it for our guest bedrooms sometimes when people stay, but generally not. And it's just like kind of this weird thing. And we've never gotten in a super good rhythm because that was like the original plan, but it hasn't executed as well as it could have. And I said, we need a reset. And my motivation for resetting this room is so that we can move the podcast studio up here. So that when I am recording with people, whether they're here in person or they're on the computer and they see behind me, it's not insulation, pink insulation and 2x4s behind me. And that's my motivation for resetting the office. That's it. Because you know what? Like our friends, when they're here, they don't go in the office. Our family, when they're here, they don't go in the office. Nothing really happens in the office outside of work. So my motivation for that specific room in our home is different than the motivation for the living room and the kitchen and the garage. It's a different motivation. So it's okay if you consider that your motivation for your bedroom or your closet or that bathroom or your office space or your kitchen, they can all be different. You can actually have different motivations for every room in your home. That's okay. But it's the first step you take to tackling that space. So once we have named our motivation, we move on to the next step, which is a little bit more practical and tactical. And that is to name the desired physical outcomes that you have. And here's where they are different. Your motivation is a bigger picture. How do you want your home to feel? What is motivating you to complete the task, right? So we talked about this. I want my home to feel cozy and welcoming for people when they step in the door. My motivation for resetting the office is so that my podcast studio space feels warmer and cozier when people are physically here with us doing podcasty type work. So that's my motivation. And now I need to talk about and think about what are your desired physical outcomes. Does your kitchen need to function better? Does your closet need to go from cluttered to organized so that you see what is in there? Does your office need a bookshelf so that your books are easily displayed and easily found when you're looking for them? Like I said before, every space has a different outcome that you're looking for, right? The kitchen is different from the guest bathroom that someone goes in once a week. That's different than your bedroom. That's different than your office. They all have different outcomes that we're looking for. And by naming this physical outcome, this more tactical and practical thing that we're looking for, we're able to back into then the steps that we need to take to make it happen. I want to pause and talk to the people right now who might be thinking, there is no way I'm going to sit down with a notebook and a pen and write out my motivation, and then write out my desired physical outcomes for the room, and then write out the steps I'm going to take. I'm not going to write out this exercise. And to you, I would say, to each their own. To each their own. You do not have to write this out. If you are not an analog person, for sure, don't do that. But I would encourage you to take these steps and at least think through them. Think about them while you're driving to pick up your kids, while you're working out at the gym on Monday morning, while you're sipping your coffee, looking at the room going, I should probably figure out a time to start cleaning this space up. At least run through these steps in your brain so that you go in with a really clear vision and plan an action step. Okay, now that we have that squared away, every space has a different outcome that we're looking for, right? We've talked about this. The physical outcome that we have in the kitchen is going to be very different than the outcome we're looking for in the guest bathroom that someone is in once a week. So by naming the thing that we want to be the end result, and again, we're talking physical, practical, tactical now, not big picture, we're talking little picture, we're able to then back into the steps that we need to take to make this happen. So, for example, for a better functioning kitchen, we may need to get rid of excess gadgets that you never ever use. We might need to map out the space to determine the best place for things to go based upon where I use them. Or maybe we need to purchase some little containers to contain the gadgets we do decide to keep in the drawer where gadgets go to die, because it is so gigantic and so disorganized that you can never find what you're actually looking for. I've thrown closets around a lot as an example through today's episode. So let me walk that out for you. You have decided your why behind cleaning your closet. You have determined the physical outcome that you're looking for, and now you're looking at the steps you might need to take to reach the desired outcome. Those things could be as broad as maybe you need to reevaluate how you buy clothes. Your wardrobe, is it too casual? Is it too professional? Maybe you've outgrown some of the clothes that are in there. That sequins dress is maybe something that you wore 10 or 15 years ago, but is no longer age appropriate. I actually have a really funny story to soften that blow just ever so slightly. I went into a store about 6 months ago and I was shopping for clothes, and I walked in, and this is a store I've definitely shopped at before in my younger years, but it had probably been a few years since I had been in there. And I'm looking around and I am just literally mortified by what I am seeing on the walls. I'm like, I would not choose to put that on a shirt. Or do people actually wear those things? Those pants do not look good. And so I pick some things off of the rack and I take them into the dressing room and I'm trying them on, and I'm literally just staring in the mirror going, oh my goodness, I can't do this anymore. I can't wear these clothes anymore. And I called my sister and I'm like, I think I'm too old to shop at this store, and I do not know when that happened, and I am not okay with that. And it was just a funny story, but all of that to say, do we need to reevaluate how we are building our wardrobe? Maybe you need to decide before you start cleaning if you are going to try on everything that you pull out, or if you already know what fits and you only need to try on select things. Maybe it's as simple as, to get to the physical desired outcome, you need to pull everything out and vacuum off the shelves and vacuum the floor and dust the baseboards. That's the whole beauty of this process, is that by starting high level, by starting on the very, very top of the trees, like in an airplane above the forest, and determining what matters the most. And then you come down to tree line level, right? And you say, here's what I physically want it to look like. Then you can come all the way down and go, here are the steps I need to take in order to get this outcome that I want. Now, there are going to be rooms in the house, like maybe your guest bathroom, that is already stripped down to the bare minimum. You've cleaned out the excess cleaning supplies. You've cleaned out the extra toothbrushes. You have just the right amount. They're organized well. But what you really just need to do is reset that room from an actual cleaning perspective. So you can take these same methods and apply them to the physical cleaning aspect. So you name the things that are going to get you to your desired physical outcome. Maybe that's dusting the baseboards, dusting the light fixtures, cleaning the mirrors, washing the rugs, cleaning the sink, dusting the vanity, vacuuming out the bottom of it, whatever that may look like. Naming all of those things, you give yourself a comprehensive guide to the outcome that you are looking for. A few more tips and tricks I just want to throw in there. If you are in a season where you cannot get all of this done in one setting, you can't get your entire closet cleaned, you can't get that kitchen pantry organized, you can't do the spare bathroom cleaning, whatever that it looks like, you can't get it done in one exercise. I would encourage you to jot down the things that you need to do and then put an amount of time next to each of them that you think it's going to take to complete the task. It's going to take 2 minutes to clean the mirror. It's going to take 5 minutes to dust the lights. It's going to take 3 hours to clean out all of my clothes. So that way, as you're planning your weeks and you're looking at your time, you go, hey, I have this pocket of 2 hours today where the kids are going to be at daycare and hubby is going to be at work and I'm going to have time. And so in 2 hours, what can I accomplish and do well? This will help to prevent things from that starting stop movement that doesn't go well. Like when we pull everything out of our closet and then we have to go get the kids from school and those things are like on our bed for weeks because we never put them back because we had 2 hours today and we don't have 2 hours again until next Friday, right? So that helps to prevent that. It also helps to make things feel a little bit more manageable. So maybe I only have 2 hours and I can easily say to myself, I only have 2 hours. I can't get anything done. When in reality, I could actually probably check off several things on my to-do list if I have a really clear visual plan of how long it's going to take me to do each task. The whole premise of today's episode is starting small, and I want to talk about that for a little bit. Starting small means that we take this really big, audacious goal of spring cleaning our homes. We pull it down into very manageable steps, like 2 minutes to clean the mirrors, 2 minutes to dust the lights, 2 minutes to dust the baseboards. And the reason why that matters is because we have to see progress and we have to see it quickly to continue to stay motivated. It's this way in health and fitness. It's this way in poverty alleviation. It's this way in ministry. It's this way in friendships. It's this way in a lot of things in life. We have to see progress occur at a fairly quick speed for us to continue to be able to keep going. So back to the tips and tricks part. For those of you who are maybe thinking, I really don't need to write this stuff down. I have it in my brain. I know what needs to be done. I hear you, but let me tell you this. When it comes to those really small things, like dusting the lights and cleaning the mirror and washing the rugs, unless they're very, very filthy, the chances of actually seeing progress when you do any one of those three things is very slim. You could do all three of those things, put them back, come into your bathroom, and go, it doesn't look like I did anything in here. If you didn't get to the counters and you didn't get to the toilet and you didn't scrub down the shower, you might literally come in and feel like you did nothing. But if you write those things down, you can cross them off of your list so that you can physically see with your eyes the things that you have accomplished today. Again, that's not going to work for everyone. Some of you are laughing at me right now about writing down that you need to dust the baseboards and clean the mirror and scrub the shower and wash the rugs. And that's totally okay. But if you are not going to be able to tell a tangible difference, you need to give yourself a visual of some kind so that you continue to stay motivated to complete the job. My third and final tip to you is to focus on one space at a time. Spring cleaning the entire house seems like a very good idea until you get started, and then you really just lose momentum because your energy and your attention is everywhere. So by focusing on one space at a time, you can see your progress. You can put all of your energy into it. You can name what matters the most. You can name your desired physical outcomes. You can name the steps that it's going to take to complete it. You can write down the time that's going to take, and you can tackle that space in its entirety. And a bonus tip for you is to start in the room that you're in the most. And here's what's like a little bit counterintuitive about that. I would say that, at least in our home, the living room would be where we spend the most time. But the living room is also the room that has the least amount of stuff. Like our furniture is in there, and that's about it, right? And we dust and we vacuum and we mop every week. So the living room doesn't need this massive overhaul. In fact, I would say in our house, the living room would need that. It would be the equivalent of that spare bathroom clean, right? Where it's like, we only need to dust the baseboards and clean the lights and wash the blankets on the couch and maybe fluff the pillows. But it doesn't actually need this total reset. It just needs that clean, that deep clean that it gets a couple of times a year. But by starting in the room that we spend the most time in, every time we're in that room and we see it all shiny and sparkly and clean, we're motivated to keep going. Again, friends, I'll say this one more time. It's those small wins that burst our motivation and drive us to keep going. Okay, friends, I want to take a second to tell you what's been inspiring me this week. Sticking in the vein of spring cleaning, my husband and I have a library set up in our house, and we have a lot of books. And last weekend, we both got a hankering to take every book off the shelf, to dust the shelves, to sort the books by genre and subgenre, and then alphabetize them by last name. And the end goal was that we label every book so that if we ever move again, if our books ever have to be put in a box and put back on a bookshelf somewhere, that they're easily done. It's easily done. We don't have to keep sorting every time that we move. Not that we move a lot, but I've moved my books enough to know that this process is like not that fun, and really there has to be a better way. So we really took some time, my husband and I, to think through how to do this in such a way that made it so that if we got rid of a book or we added a book, that we didn't mess up the number system. And you know what? We still did it wrong. We did it wrong. We had friends over the other day, and I was explaining to them how we had chosen to number the books, and they pointed out to me that if I do indeed buy another book whose author starts with B, I'm still going to have a messed up number system. And I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. Thankfully, we only got through one subgenre of nonfiction. So there's only about 95 books that we have to relabel. That's the silver lining. But I think that in all actuality, in all honesty, when I think about that, it just goes to show that even when you're someone who is passionate about organizing and spring cleaning and having a plan and naming what's important and thinking all the way through the process so that you do it right the first time, you don't always get it right the first time. So, and you know what? We just have to laugh about it because there's nothing else to do. We laugh about it. We relabel the 95 books and we move forward knowing what's actually going to work as we continue to put our books on the shelf. So that's my story for you this week. Friends, thank you so much for tuning into the Inspiring Heights podcast today. We are thankful for you, and it means so much to us that you are here. If you have any ideas for the show, you can go to our website, inspiringheights.org, click on the podcast tab on the top, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a mountain image with a button where you can submit your ideas to the show. We would love to hear from you. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Inspiring Heights. And you'll want to like us there if you haven't already, because we have some really exciting news coming for you. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss that. Also, friends, if you are so inclined, we would love for you to subscribe to the show, leave a review, and share with your friends who you think might be interested. All right, that is all for now. Until next time, take a deep breath and be inspired where your feet are. Bye for now.